I bought all the books, so grab some coffee and let me tell you which ones and why. Hi, I'm Razu, and I recently spent an entire day binge watching my favorite booktubers and decided to buy every single book they recommended. I ended up with a massive book haul of 30 books that I'm really looking forward to reading. In this video, I'll show you the big pile of books, talk about how I plan to read through them, and give a brief overview of each book, the author, and why I found them interesting enough to buy them. So let's get started. I really enjoy reading fantasy and sci-fi books. Most of the books I've read over the last couple of years have been in that genre, but lately I've been finding myself drawn to try out other genres and specifically books that are not part of a series. I actually don't recall having read many standalone books at all. Combine that with just having bought some new bookshelves that are still half empty, I decided to challenge myself to read a bunch of standalone books. And what better way to pick what books to read than listening to recommendations from Booktube. So I spent the better part of a day watching Booktube and ordering recommended books I found interesting. Each of the books I have here will also get a review or reading update video. But in this video here, I just want to go through all the books, tell you what they are about, and tell you why I found it interesting enough to buy. I hope you will stick with me to the end, and if you want to share your view on any of these books or feel there's a must-read book I've forgotten, feel free to do so in the comments or reach out to me over on Twitter or X, as some people call it now. I'm always happy to discuss books. Now let's get this thing going, and a word of warning, I suck at pronouncing author names. First up, we have The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. This psychological thriller is about a woman named Amber who envies the perfect life of another woman, Daphne Parrish, and then schemes to take it for herself. Liv Constantine is actually a pen name for two sisters, Lynn and Valerie Constantine. The reason I picked up this book, which seems to be quite different than what I usually read, is because I'm intrigued by the idea of exploring the dark side of envy and manipulation. I hope this will be a good one. Next, The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This book mixes two timelines. One is 1982, the year I was born, following a young woman named Viv Delaney who works the night shift at a creepy motel, and another timeline in 2017 with Carly, who's investigating her Aunt Viv's mysterious disappearance. I picked this one because I wanted to read a ghost story, and the dual timelines add an extra layer of mystery. Then there's Beneath the Rising by Premi Mohammed. This is a blend of cosmic horror and adventure, following childhood friends Joanna and Nick as they confront ancient eldritch horrors released by Joanna's latest invention. The mix of horror and sci-fi elements really caught my attention, and also I love cosmic horror. Then I have The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Lavelle, and this is a reimagining of Lovecraft's The Horror at Red Hook from the perspective of Charles Thomas Tester, a street musician and hustler in the 1920s Harlem. I appreciate how Lavelle addresses racial issues while bringing a fresh perspective to classic horror. We all know by now that Lovecraft was a horrible racist, so seeing this new take on a great story idea is pretty neat. Also, the book is very short. Moving on to some fantasy. We have God's Guards by Terry Pratchett. This book is part of the Discworld series and follows the misfit Nightwatch as they attempt to save their city from a dragon. Pratchett's wit and humor are legendary, and I'm excited to finally dive into the Discworld, which I should have done a long time ago. I know I should be ashamed about that. Next is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This sci-fi thriller tells the story of Jason Dessen, who is abducted and wakes up in a reality where his life is completely different. I like stories that explore alternate realities, and the paths not taken fascinates me. And I know this is just about to come out as a TV show on Apple TV+, so I want to read the book before I watch the show. Then we have The Dry. The Dry is by Jane Harper. This is set in a small Australian town during a severe drought. Federal agent Aaron Falk returns to his hometown for the funeral of a childhood friend and becomes embroiled in the investigation of a possible murder-suicide. Everyone says that Harper has a great ability to create atmospheric settings and complex characters, and that sounded interesting to me. Then we have The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the first book in the Devabad trilogy and follows Nahri, a con artist in 18th century Cairo, who accidentally summons a jinn warrior and discovers a world of magic and political intrigue. I've heard many great things about this book, but the rich cultural setting and intricate world building is what got me excited. Then I have The Whisper Man by Alex North. This is a chilling thriller about a father and son who moves to a small town with a dark past. 20 years ago, a serial killer known as the Whisper Man abducted and murdered 5 young boys. I think the plot sounds really interesting, and North's ability to weave psychological tension is supposed to be impressive, which is why I picked this one up. I couldn't help pick up the second book in the Sun Eater series, Howling Dark, by Christopher Ruocchio. This is the second book in the series. It continues the epic journey of Hadrian Marlov, who is on a quest to stop an ancient evil threatening humanity. I really like the first book in the series, and the blend of space opera and philosophical musings is what made me come back for more. Then I have My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, and this is a homage to slasher films featuring Jade Daniels, a horror-obsessed teenager who believes a real-life slasher has come to her small town. Jones is a master of horror, and I like deep dives into the genre tropes, especially when they are then turned on their head. I'm looking forward to this one. Then I have Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. And this mixes historical fantasy with horror. It's set in the 1920s South, and it follows a group of resistance fighters who battle demonic Ku Klux Klan members. The reviews say that the narrative tackles serious themes while delivering a powerful and engaging story. Let's go on to the next one. The Outside by Ada Hoffman combines AI with cosmic horror. It follows Yasira Shirin, a scientist whose invention inadvertently breaks reality, attracting the attention of both human and divine forces. Hoffman has a background in cognitive science, which I think will add a fascinating layer to her storytelling, and I do believe this also falls in the cosmic horror category. Then I have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, and this is another haunted house thriller. It alternates between the present day, where Maggie Holt renovates her childhood home, and the past, detailing her father's memoir of their time in the supposedly haunted house. I'm sure that Sager's knack for suspense and twists is going to keep me on the edge. Then this book here, it made the rounds on TikTok a while ago, but I never picked it up then, and it's a big one. The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and this is a standalone story with dragons, a divided kingdom, and a hidden society of dragon riders. Shannon's intricate world building is highly praised. It's a long one, but it will probably be awesome. I'm running out of space on my floor to put books. This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. And this is a time travel romance between 2 rival agents, Red and Blue. They leave letters for each other across time, And I've already started reading this one, and I find that it is very poetic in its prose and has a very unique structure. That's a lot of books, but there's more to go. If you like this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to tap the like button and maybe even subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. On to the next book. American Elsewhere by Robert Jackson Bennett. This blends sci-fi and horror in a small town with dark secrets. Mona Bright inherits a house in Wink, New Mexico, a town not on any map, and uncovers its eerie mysteries. Bennett's ability to create atmospheric and gripping narratives is captivating, and I can't wait to dig into this one. Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky takes us into a chilling new genre. As the author of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, he ventures into horror. This gripping novel centers around a young boy who vanishes for 6 days and comes back changed with an eerie voice in his head, guiding his actions. The dramatic shift from Chbosky's previous heartfelt narratives to this dark, mysterious plot is both surprising and fascinating. I'm hoping it's as good as I think it is. Then we have a classic. The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty is a classic horror novel about the demonic possession of a young girl and the exorcism performed to save her. It has a reputation as one of the scariest books ever written, and I'll let you know if I agree when I'm done with it. Click the bell button if you want to be notified when I post the video. Then we have Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill, which features Judas Coyne, a rock star who buys a ghost online. Hill's ability to blend horror with emotional depth makes this novel particularly compelling, and I thought the idea was so bonkers that I had to pick up the book. The Troop by Nick Cotter is a survival horror novel where a group of boys on a camping trip face a terrifying infection. This also made the rounds on TikTok not long ago. It is known for its intense and gruesome scenes, so I guess this book is not for the faint-hearted. I'll let you know what I think when I'm done with it. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson adds to his dark fantasy repertoire. I'm a big fan of Brandon Sanderson, so this book was going to find its way into my collection eventually. Yumi is an artist who paints to calm nightmares, and she gets drawn into a battle between light and dark. Sanderson's world building is always impressive. The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune is a heartwarming story about Linus Baker, a caseworker who investigates magical children in an orphanage. Klune's blend of whimsy and deep emotion makes this a standout, and I picked this up because I realized how dark and horrific the rest of my book list had become. I'm going to use this as a palate cleanser between all the evil books in this book haul. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern is a magical competition set within a circus that only operates at night. I've heard so much talk about this book and about its enchanting prose and rich imagery that I had to pick it up. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab tells the story of a girl who makes a deal to live forever but is forgotten by everyone she meets. Schwab's writing is described as enchanting, and this book promises to be an emotional journey. I'm not really sure what genre this book falls in, but I'm looking forward to it. The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi is also by Shannon Chakraborty, the author behind The City of Brass. It tells the story of a retired pirate named Amina who is pulled back into a world of danger and adventure for one last mission. This promises to be an exciting tale of high seas, daring escapes, and hidden treasures. I think I'm going to read this after I read City of Brass. Then I have another classic on the list. Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury is a tale of two boys who encounter a sinister carnival. Bradbury's storytelling is timeless, and I'm thrilled to finally read this iconic book, which I've heard so much talk about over the years. The next book is a book I really thought long and hard about adding to the list or not. When I was a kid, someone who had read it told me about American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, and I thought it sounded so horrible, sadistic, and evil that I've never wanted to read this book. But I found it very cheap, so I thought I'd give it a try. However, if this ends up being what I suspect it is, I probably won't finish it. I'll let you know how it goes and what I think. A couple of weeks ago, I finished No Country for Old Men, and I really liked it. So it was only logical for me to pick up The Road by Cormac McCarthy as well. This is a post-apocalyptic novel that follows a father and son's journey through a devastated landscape. McCarthy's sparse and powerful prose in No Country really drove it home with me, so I'm looking forward to seeing if The Road does the same. I've already mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but I still haven't gotten around to reading it, but I still think it sounds pretty cool. The Will of the Many by James Islington is a dark epic fantasy that delves into themes of power, betrayal, and destiny. From what others have said, the complex characters and intricate plot developments make it promising to read for anyone who loves a good deep narrative, which I do. And with that, we made it through. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. That wraps up the colossal book haul. I'm so excited to dive into these books and share my thoughts with you in future videos. But I do expect that it will take me 4 to 6 months to finish all of these, but I will keep you updated here on this channel and on Twitter. Now, I just need to figure out which one to begin with. Feel free to let me know in the comments which one you think I should start with. If you found any of these books interesting, consider checking them out for yourself. And if you enjoyed this video, please do the YouTube thing and click all the buttons, subscribe, like, yada yada. Thank you for watching and see you in the next chapter.